Okay, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to put on our intro and allow people time to come in and share to the network. See you in about a minute and 20 seconds. All right, how's it going, everybody? It's our second show of the day. We have another new friend we're going to get to know. A sister by the name of Kaayla Vedder. And we're going to bring her up now. I just want to say to everybody, thank you for your continued love and support and contributions that allow us to keep doing this every day. And like all of us, we all have a duty, a contribution that we're making. And we got to get up and do it every day. We couldn't do it without you. And that's all I'm trying to say. So big thanks to you all. Okay, let's get Kaayla up here and meet our new sister, new friend. Let's see. There we go. And unmute. Hello, Kaayla.
Hello, beautiful.
What's happening? How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a pretty energetic last night and day. So there's been I don't even know what to make of it yet. I'm glad we only have two shows today. But because after this one I might have to have a lay down. But so it's been, well, it's been kind of indicative of April. April, every month this year's been like nuts, but in a good way. But God, this month has just been extraordinary. It's been like many months in a month, and I guess there's been a lot of uh, you know receiving code and activations, processing, integration, and elevation, and plop.
Yeah, it has been a bit of a show, hasn't it? So much happening so fast. So many of us just really being called to step in and step up and allow all that density to just fall away as these new, systems and templates and things begin to get anchored in. It's definitely been a ride. I feel you. Last night was pretty crazy.
Was it really? What happened? Did anything specific happen? Or you just feeling the energy?
Well, yeah, both specific and as much as I'm can pick up with my my radar and my mind. I mean, we all know that's just like the tip of the iceberg. It's so much bigger and more expansive than we can possibly begin to try and figure out. And when you try and figure it out, it just slows it right down. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
that seems to be coming into play now. Like I can remember actually having at least one this month where the through the communion it was like, well, you don't need to know. I said, what does this mean, and why is it happening, and why do I feel like I need to know? And I just heard, you don't need to know anything. I did a post about it. It was, when I did, it was a feather, black and white feather came down as I'm posing this question. You know how this is how it works now. And I think in the post I said, I've learned to understand the sequential communication of the universe, even when you don't know what it's saying. You know what's happening. So I said to the feather, what are you trying to show me? And it said, you're in a new cycle. It's a cycle of union. It starts with internal conflict, between balancing, say, dark and light or whatever, and then integration, and then union. So, but one of the things that came out of that was you don't need to know, but we're going to go ahead and tell you this time.
Mhm.
So, so when did this start for you? I mean, a lot of the people that come on the show have a traditional, not traditional, but kind of a typical scenario where they woke up or they were born with it. They kind of got shut down somewhere between 8, 9, and moving into the matrix at post high school, and then through a series of traumas, it seems for most of them they had you know a wake up experience, also known as a swift kick in the rear end.
Yeah, the old cosmic 2x4
Right.
smackdown time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for myself, my earliest memory is probably around, I would guess around 2 or 3.
Mm.
Um, I write about it in my book because I think a lot of people can relate to this, and it's where you start to figure out how to function, or get through the world. My family really didn't know what to do with me, so when I shared with them that there were beings in my room, my limited vocabulary, I started to describe cartoon characters.
Mm.
So then of course I was forbidden to watch cartoons. So
Mm.
although the characters continued to show up.
Oh
So
yeah.
it was a bit more like a Starbucks bar scene.
Oh, you mean the Star Wars bar scene?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Did I say Starbucks?
yeah. No, but
Put Starbucks in there.
yeah, I refer to that from time to time as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, what now? Do you? God, that's early memories to have
Yeah.
that with that much clarity.
Yeah.
But like, uh, were they? Do you remember what they were saying then, or did that come later?
Well, the energy was a lot different than it is now. However, everything was happening for me and not to me. And
True.
looking back, it's all been part of this beautiful opening up and expanding into this amazing heart center. But then it was a lot of fear, a lot of being misunderstood, and um, it wasn't an easy journey, and just being misunderstood.
Yeah.
And it's not so much that I was being told things as much as I was being shown things.
Hmm.
And then at some part in my journey, I think I was probably around between 10 and 12, and I would be shown things, and I just finally said, I don't want to see this stuff anymore. Like, I don't want to see it. And so poof, voila, you can no longer see it. But it's kind of like walking around in a haunted house with a blindfold on. Everything's still there. I just
Mm-hmm.
couldn't see it. And so it was a real journey of just stepping in and acknowledging. And I didn't shut that off for very long because, like I said, I think that was worse than actually seeing. But I did learn how to um, figure out what I was being guided to and what my, in that energy, what my gifts and abilities are. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, aren't you feeling right now? Like, there's almost like this feeling like you've got all these tools in your toolkit. None of these tools are working anymore. And it's like this whole new
Mm.
way of doing and being. And because so much is falling away.
Yeah.
Have you been having that experience too? Like,
I've been. In fact, I was just talking to the previous guest about it. So what I've noticed is a couple things. One, I want to say first of all, it's a good point what you bring up about any energies that are presented to you are for you, and that's just it. We cannot divorce ourselves from any aspect of the universe, especially the ones that are come knocking on your door. I think that's a great comment because there's a lot of people getting into it now.
yeah,
Technically by their own admission, waking up. I think the other thing too is like what you said, they're showing you something. And I think also what you said about back then, the energies were different. The energies today seem to be more, uh, each day, expanding in their level of support, and maybe even congruency and clarity, which is probably due to the efforts of people like you that were breaking the doors down for the last 15 or 20 years. But in so far to your question, yeah. So I've noticed since the end of last year, there started to be like a transition. There's a lot of practitioners come on the show, and so they were like moving out of the old paradigm. I would call like a yogi guru paradigm, student teacher paradigm,
Right.
and they were moving into, hey, these modalities and processes that I used, I'm not using them anymore. Something's changed. I'm starting to have like a smorgasbord when people come in. That's when I know what to do, and it could be this, it could be that, it could be this. Then also seeing, the that element, or I think like moving away from a codependent frequency into kind of a self empowerment frequency, so their patient client relationship kind of changed, and people talked about that. They talked about more people coming to see them that were waking up, and then also the fact that, I watch the energy and the work I do with people. I learn a lot from just their energy. I think we all do, but I notice that, uh, because it's, I think for people like you and that have been doing this a long time, it's this is a powerful, uh, procedure. I mean, you're downloading stuff, you're having apparitions, you're being told things. It's a big challenge to the ego. How could you not be affected? And it what I was starting to see, like say February, March, was I was starting to see a humility kicking in. Not that they lacked it, but that because the higher you go, the more aware you are. You didn't see shadow you saw before, and so on, in a good way. And I thought it was a really good thing because I think our energetic example is what really makes the difference. It's not even the words we say. So going back to what you were asking about, yeah, it's like you wake up and everything that was applicable through yesterday and all your elation and epiphanies and revelations, and you wake up and it's all been wiped away. you know so yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really the birthing of this co-creation and collaboration, and just like what you're doing here. And really there's these beautiful um, new communication templates that are in place. They're not yet anchored. And so a lot of us too are that are kind of on the front of this wave are struggling to find words for what there are no words for. It doesn't always translate to English terms, but like you said, it's that energy, it's that feeling, and just following that energy and really surrendering and trusting, because a lot of these things too present in our physical body. I mean, I got to share this with you. This is kind of funny. I had the other night, I had a bunch of energy work happening, and a couple people assisting me. And I was just like, wow, what's going on? And I just wanted to go chill out and just like watch a stupid comedy show or something. And I'm watching the TV, and every time I looked at somebody's face, I've got this triangle like blinking in front of my eyes. And I'm like, huh, that's kind of cool. Now, this has happened to me before, but this was like previous experiences on crack. It was like,
Mm.
it was so much more intense. And I'm sitting there and I can't see anyone's faces. I can see peripherally, but I've got this thing flashing. And then all these colors start coming in, and they're in more little boxes and more triangles and inside this pyramid. And they just keep blinking, and the colors are beyond what I could describe here in this place. It was just so vibrant, so beautiful. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go to bed and just surrender to this. So I go to bed, and the lights are out. It's pitch black. I close my eyes and it's lit up. I mean, it's just like I can still see this, and it's so bright and so vibrant. And then it just got bigger and bigger until it just expanded all the way out. And then I
Mm.
think I slept for about 12 hours, which that's not my norm at all. So A lot of people might have gone into, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? I need to go to like the ego would get triggered. And I've definitely experienced that in the past, but I think it's just a surrendering and a trusting in that lightness, like you said, like it's a heavy feeling when it's an untruth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the ego, right? And if it's a struggle, it's the ego. If you're in the flow of it, it's so easy. It's
Yeah.
just so easy. You just, yeah. So I don't know why I
So
had to share that with you, but yeah.
no, that's awesome. I mean, so you had a pulsing triangle while you're conscious and
Oh yeah.
you're in
Yeah.
awake state. A pulsing triangle with sacred geometry
Yes.
side of it.
Yes.
Did you? And here we go back to the chicken and the egg. You know, did you get a message out of it, or does it matter anymore? But I mean, did you
Well,
get anything out of it?
it doesn't really matter. I mean, but things have transpired since then, and more has happened. And this is just very recently. I actually, after that happened, I came down and when I say came down, my office is down on the lower floor. So I came down and I was just guided to just really write. And, some people might look at, what we do as being really easy, to get up here and to talk about it and to share
Mm,
it. And they think, oh, that's your normal. And, we've still got pieces of our ego that creep up, but I was just guided to just put it out there, regardless if it made sense to everybody or not, because it's like you said, it's not about the words.
mm,
And so it was seeing all these really high frequency encodements coming in.
mm.
And it's like, if you write a book or I write a book or whatever, we are connecting to some higher encodements. It's not about the words,
Yeah,
but in some ways it was about the words because um, I got a little galactic and I don't usually do that. It's always been the distraction of trying to connect uh, with everyone and connecting with no one or few.
yeah.
And so it
No,
was
that's yeah,
it was just like, okay, here I go. I'm jumping in. I'm done with the BS. I'm not going to hide from anybody anymore. And so it was like this whole realization that I had been hiding. I had not been being really authentic because it's weird.
yeah,
Like these are the things that Bevy, which is the name of my ego, uh, like to throw in your face. And so it was a really big opening up and clearing out and falling away of density and stuff. And, being able to share that, it it was just it wasn't I wasn't looking for any kind of results or that's all gone.
yeah, yeah,
It's not about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what I've been observing too, is that it's the same frequency. It's that frequency of codependency, which was our only, for the most part, was our, unless you were Ama or Muji, you know, that was really our way of communicating. And part of that is what you just described. There's a lot of points that you bring up, or that come up with what you just said. And one is the divine feminine has been in the background for a long, long time.
Yes.
This empowerment, this frequency coming to full 100%, at least availability for there to be embraced and utilized is there. And that's a huge thing, which is shown by individual, for the most part, feminine voices stepping up and doing what they're guided to do, what they've been practicing and getting ready for, and to do it without expectation, because that's a big part of what we have to let go of and surrender away from, I guess. So that's one thing. I think that's a great thing too. And then the way you describe it, well, I don't usually go very galactic, but it's almost like, well, we're integrating all these polarities, including physical and non-physical. So it's like we're in a transition in between these two spaces that both come with operating manuals like 3D and 5D. But and how do you get from 3D to 5D when you're transitioning, integrating all these different aspects of yourself, human and otherwise? And I think that's kind of what I got out of it. That it's all you, and you're putting it out there, and the code is going to speak for itself, I guess, when you get right down to it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of unlocking and things. Wow. Okay. So there's a lot shifting right now, and there's things
Mm,
like you're talking about 3D, 5D. Yeah, the 3D is like it's just ego, it's density. And you start to dance in 4D and then 5D, and you're instantaneously manifesting things.
mm,
But it's really a stepping away and a falling away of the entire ego,
yeah.
and just really getting into that highest aspect of who you are and bringing that energy in and through. And in the clients that I serve, it's been interesting. The shift that's happened is, I used to really, and I still am, but in a different way, is just be a real powerhouse, a real clearing. Like, I would go up against all kinds of stuff
Mm,
and clear it out. And even that has shifted, that it's coming from a much higher prashant level,
mm.
that real beautiful divine courage. It's heart centered, it's fierce. you know the prashants are here, and I think that's probably what you were feeling last night, because
What
you
is that? What is Pashans?
a prashant is a
Pashant.
it's a lion being that walks
Mm,
bipedal. And they're beautiful, beautiful beings, and they are full of so much courage and assist in removing obstacles and bringing many blessings.
mm,
And, a lot of people have the Pashant aspect, um, wanting to integrate. Some have integrated it. You have a very large Prashant aspect that is fully integrated.
mm,
And I was in communion with that aspect of you last night, which might have been what you were feeling. Um, but it's like this whole uh, first wave, if you want to put it in a way, of Pashans have now ascended and are assisting. And
yeah.
this is literally like yesterday.
Yeah, well, this is weird because don't ask me where or what. I remember, so last night I was really tired. I stayed up until, and I didn't even know it. Morgan told me this morning you were up till 3 o'clock. You got up at 7. No wonder you're not feeling good. But I remember seeing a lion face. Okay, and then when I got on social media, there were two different pictures that jumped out to me. One of them was a really cool picture. It looked like the lion was the physical matter and the apparition was the human matter. Was the human, and it looked like the human was being birthed out of the lion, but the human was translucent, and the other one carried, the same type of kind of unique frequency. But we know these are all messages. This is isn't
Yeah.
this this is crazy. But um yeah, so and and then I don't know if you've been experiencing this, but like an increase in, particularly this year, in like the synchronicity of your experience kind of bleeding into other people's experience, or interweaving, like like even like the posts you put up, to put a post up or a video, and then this is what I got, and then you go check out, you surf the net a little bit, and you find 3 or 4 people writing the same thing at virtually the same time. I don't know if you noticed that this year.
I haven't noticed it too much for myself. It's interesting. I don't I don't do a lot of surfing. um
That's probably a good thing.
yeah, I just haven't been. If I get guided to, I do, and I was guided to, connect with you, and I'm
Mm,
super grateful for that.
yeah.
But it's not been a part. Um, yeah, and that's starting to open up and shift and change. And there's definitely a lot of synchronicities, because this energy is here. It's different people are at different places in their journeys. Um, we are all a part of figuring out this puzzle, and where each piece goes, and what needs to be unlocked in order for this to happen and for that to happen. And you know some of it has absolutely zipola to do with us personally, on our own personal journey of waking up and remembering who we are. I've had instances recently where I'll see a key or something and I think, oh, okay, let's grab that. What's that going to unlock? And, not that I'm saying that, I'm just kind of moving around and it's like, no. And then a whole council of the Elohim will come in front of me and say, no, 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 no. And you can't take it anyways. Like you're trying. And it's like, okay, well, if it's a struggle, it's not flow, right? So
Mm.
let it go. But it's like, no, no, that's a universal key. And so, we all have um, a role. And, many of us chose to bring certain things here within us. And as those start to, the veils start to lift and those things start to come online, sometimes there's certain things that have to happen before that can happen. And so you might have an ache or something, and then maybe you do some work with someone and they say, hey, you've got a key in your shoulder, but it's not ready to come out yet. And so you might feel this for a while. But it is definitely, everyone, no matter where they're at on their journey, are all a part of this beautiful crystalline consciousness, and they all have a role. So, yeah, I could definitely see where the synchronicities are for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, yes, I have had that experience probably about 4 years ago where I wrote something and someone else commented that that was theirs or something like that. And I kind of laughed and I was like,
Yeah, I've seen some of that. I've seen,
oh,
not me personally, but I've seen that happen to Morgan a couple of times. Uh, and almost, this is going back a couple of years when the energies were really whacked. You know, I mean,
yeah, that's when I had that too. It was
yeah,
a few years ago. And
yeah,
she has just had like a massive energetic heart opening and expansion.
yeah. That was, I believe, Friday night, and that was crazy. And I've been through a lot of crazy with her, but no, that was very, very intense. That was like. That was definitely some type of um, opportunity to anchor something huge. I mean, I watched it happen. It was,
And
it was,
surrender. That's
yeah.
the biggest thing. A lot of
Yes,
us get stuck
exactly. Yeah,
in the fear cycle, and I'm no, different than anybody else. I've definitely experienced that too. And it you can try and explain to people what it means when you say surrender, and they're like, I am flipping surrendering. And you're like, well, no, actually you're not. But
yeah,
it's an interesting experience, and when you do it, everyone after that becomes so much easier. It's just so much easier.
yeah. I think there's a difference between surrendering willingly and surrendering because you don't have a choice. When you have
Yeah,
that, I don't have a choice. That's not really surrendering. That's like you're not trusting. You're just saying, okay, do with me what you want. But you
yeah.
mentioned the Elohim. Um, I had a transmission Saturday morning, and I talked about it on a couple of the shows, and it had to do with the biggest disclosure in the age of disclosure will be the disclosure of the true divine feminine. And I was taken to a couple of videos, and it was really interesting. But one of the things I ran across was that I love etymology, and the etymology of the word Elohim is feminine. and
uh,
and I forget the context of whatever I was researching with, because it was something written, and but anyway, the whole idea coming in, or reality coming in, that that balance is coming back, and therefore for the balance to come back, she has to be in her full power, and he has to give up the power. Are you picking up on anything like that? I mean, in terms of the frequency, the energy of the divine feminine, collectively taking its proper place.
well, I see things. I'm not sure if we're going to be saying the same thing or not. What I can share with you is the duality of the divine masculine and the
Mm.
feminine is actually beginning to merge. It hasn't totally shifted for the masculine just yet, but for many, that duality, I see it like a strip is literally pulled out, and then this beautiful opening up happens, and it's really about right now letting go of so many dualities. You know, I'm right, you're wrong. This is black, this is white, this is da, 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 man, woman. It's really a releasing and then just a marrying and a merging of all of it. And the peace and the love that comes through with that is incredible. I mean, there's been many galactic and earthbound, you know, wars and
Mhm.
things where people go toe to toe, and you know that's some of that energy that's just falling away, and some of these old systems that came in and were taking over and actually created that separateness, which created, you know, even more egoic, you know, brouhaha.
Mhm.
That's all being unhooked. It's really uh, being completely, like the word dilapidated comes in, and it's like it's just going away, and it's like, you know, even the karmic wheel, I mean, that was years ago that thing fell apart.
Mhm.
I remember looking and going, okay, well then, you know, my question at that time many years ago was like, okay, well, if that's falling down and completely dilapidated, then what is everybody still got all this stuff connected to them? And it's because they have these beliefs. So then, you know, it's really an inside job.
Yeah.
And the way we can all assist all of humanity at any time
Yeah.
is to really look after ourselves and take that deep dive and find that courage, because you have keys to unlock.
I'm with you 100%. I'm
Yeah.
with you 100%. All this external focus, whether we're looking for love or hate, it doesn't really matter. It's distracting us.
It
It's
is.
you
Yeah.
know, we want to serve. We want to help, but the best thing we can do is to handle our own shift. I love what you said too. That really resonates is when you said there's like a strip, right?
Yeah.
So if we look at the body, be it male or female, we tend to spend some of our time. How do I bring these two sides together? And I love what you said too, because you're basically saying remove this, and it's just kind of gonna come. Like that space is created, and I'm listening to you, and I'm going, wow, that's because it is mostly the women. I agree totally with what you said. The masculine really hasn't gotten there yet. She's going to go first. That's the way this thing's been going.
Yeah.
But what I have noticed, especially recently this month, is some of the polarizing positions people in the community are taking, the extremes of emotion that are driving their expression, such as, hey, if you don't agree with this or that, unfriend me now, or being too pro this or too anti that. Um, and you can see it. And I like the way you described it, because I can see by looking at that energy, 8 times out of 10, it's a woman, because you guys make up 80% of these communities. But you can see that's kind of a wounded masculine or patriarchal kind of program. But you're right. It's just bringing in that feminine energy, whether I'm a man or a woman, and using that incredible, all around nurturing wisdom, love, and just taking it out. I mean, that's not so difficult to surrender to, like you said, and it gets easier once you start it.
Yeah. The first time is the biggest because the ego really has a shit fit. Ooh, am
Mm.
I allowed to say that on here?
Yeah, this is Sology.
I've
At least somebody besides me. I've tried to cut down over the years.
got
No,
a bit of potty mouth. I'm just
no,
gonna.
that's okay. You're right at home. You're right.
Um. Yeah. The you know, masculine. Wow. What a trip. What a trip. You know, the and all that is starting to fall away, and there's so many things that are being cleared out, you know, galactically as well as earthbound, and um, really assisting in raising that frequency. And it's embodying all of that in every one of us. There is no separateness. I mean, everybody has got um, both energies, and it's just the bringing them together so they can, yeah, merge.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice balance.
So in your um, daily life, I guess, as it's altered dramatically day by day this year. 'Cause this year seems to be like a summary lifetime of summary or multiple incarnations. We're moving so fast.
Yeah.
Uh, are you connected to a specific energetic field or energy complex, galactic or angelic, that seems to be kind of your team? Does it have, or is it just more like one universal voice?
Oh my gosh. I have many different beings come and assist. I mean, yeah. It really depends on what's happening. Like if it's for me personally, yeah, I have many different beings come through. You know, we have dogs and cats and birds and so on and so forth. And some people have these as pets. Sometimes there's wildlife, whatever, and all that stuff. There, if you really look past the vehicle, the
Mm,
physical, and you tune into the being, there's some really advanced beings here assisting us. And a
wow.
lot of them are coming in fur form or, feather form, if you
Yeah.
want to call it that. So my daily life, um, that we have a bit of a joke in this house. It's like if people could hear us talk, they'd think we were absolutely nuts because, I'm way out there and then everybody else in my family is able to follow, even if I'm not getting the words right.
You're like the
So
Pied Piper.
I guess it's kind of funny, but yeah, I
Uh,
definitely have many different beings come. And, just to share with everyone too is, there have been moments where it's been a little startling. And I can recall even having a client and saying, "Oh, um, I'll be right back. I just need a minute." And then I go and I'm like, "What? What?" Because maybe a new being presents or something, and I'm like, but then the realization, and this is what's kind of yummy, is like, and it goes to that surrender as well, and that trust, and that you are being looked after, and there is nothing to be protected from.
mm,
You are so much bigger than that. You are, oh my gosh, the light that you are, wow. But it's that reminding yourself to, okay, all is well, what's happening here, and just trusting in that process. And typically once you do that, you'll actually see, if you look back, you'll see where that energy has already been there,
yeah.
and maybe it just hasn't presented fully because the universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it, doesn't want to scare the shit out of you. That's not the point.
Yeah.
It's love and assistance, and yeah, there's some stuff out there that kind of scares people, but it's remembering who you are. And yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, and I can identify with that totally.
Awesome.
Um, Sometimes they don't look too pretty, but it's
No.
the same process. I know when I started to really accept everything into my heart, which and bear in mind, in my opinion anyway, everything has an ing on the end because it doesn't stop. But that's what it would always come down to. You're face to face with it. What are you going to do? You're going to open your heart in complete faith and surrender, and then
Yeah.
it moves into alignment and moves on. Now, what it's I'm getting the feel that you have a pretty wide range of things that you do, or let's just say skills and abilities that have been with you a while, that you've expanded and that have matured and so on. Um,
Yeah.
so, hey, like, what is your mission? What do you feel like your missions are? Uh, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I listen, I have, a wide range of things that I do, but I also have a really beautiful community of
Mm,
people that do different things.
wow.
Like I may see the dots, but I may not be the one to connect those dots. And I may get someone to this position, and then I might say, hey, next you might want to see this person if you want some assistance with this, or if you're feeling great about it, go for it. Um, and that's all shifting and changing. So for me, it's really about unlocking these aspects, is what I'm shown now, unlocking, we have these keys within our physical and energetic levels, as well as assisting people to recognize these beautiful aspects of themselves that are available to them, that are at such a much higher frequency and able to assist them in ways that maybe they weren't aware of. It's kind of like that story where all the, I don't know what the story is, but where the boat shows up on the island and all the natives of the island don't see the boat show up because they don't know what the heck a boat is. So they don't even see it, but it's there. And then once somebody says, hey, there's a boat there, bang, bang, this is it. Then they notice, oh, there's
Yeah.
a boat there. So it's kind of like that, being able to assist with that and really allow them to quickly, it's not about reliving it with the mind and the ego and all that stuff. It's like it's a co-creation and a collaboration. So we just dive in, and everybody's different. Everybody has their own unique blueprint. Everybody has their own unique path. So, you know, yeah, I work with a number of people, depending on, they're all in different parts in their journey, and
Mm,
just trusting in what I'm being shown, and tapping into that Prashant courage to share with them
mm,
what's coming up, whether they're ready to hear it or not. And
mm.
reminding them that it's all coming from love and compassion.
Yeah.
And I am very direct. If you're not into direct, I'm not your girl.
Mm,
I I am very direct in a loving way, but it's like you're not your story, and it's what is that actually bringing up for you, and then unlocking those aspects so you can really flourish
yeah.
and fly.
Yeah. When I met my wife, one of the things she used to say a lot to me was, do you want to tell the story? Or you want to release it? Do you
Yeah,
want to tell the story or you want to transform it? Yeah. But,
yeah,
but I think that's also to me, like when I had, before I met her. So like when I had a lot of universal isolation, spent a lot of time, most of my time in isolation. That's the brutal honesty of the soul. It's the same frequency, that you're describing. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, the Kali energy is that way, isn't it? I mean, there's no doubt she loves you. The dragon energy is that way. There's no doubt they love you, but they're not going to take any bullshit. You know what I mean?
no, and there's some really big, I'm so glad you brought that up, the dragon energy, which oh my gosh, anyways, um and your wife, there's this beautiful energy now, like so many are stepping into their white dragon aspect, and this is
Mm,
a really big, beautiful, amazing aspect to really, I mean, they give birth to planets. Come on. It's
yeah.
it's like, and sometimes, especially recently, I am guided to take people, like, let's go, and we go. And it is such a different frequency, and it's so quick that so much drops away. And I want to just kind of go back again a little bit, because they're just showing me to go back a little bit. When I mentioned, we have personal, journey, and it's really about waking up, and there's no destination. The destination is the journey.
Hmm.
So it's like, you know when we have these universal agreements or contracts, whatever you want to call them, those, we answered that cosmic call to come and assist, and we brought things with us. And so for those that are struggling with the ego, because there's a stripping away that happens, and it's not fun.
Mm,
I mean, you really don't know who the heck you are. And it can be really uncomfortable, because that whole aspect is being stripped away. And what's happening right now with everything speeding up so quickly, and this new energy coming and anchoring in, and so many different aspects, and things unlocking, and having, this timing of everything, and it's divine timing, not in our timing, which is kind of, can be a bit, I want what I want when I want it, instead of, well, you get it when it's ready.
hmm.
The cake's not cooked yet. But these people who hold universal agreements, it's like, if they're not, some aren't going to dive down this metaphysical rabbit hole. Some aren't gonna, they're in fear. They're really locked down, and it can feel really scary.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not taking those steps. So what's happening now is those people who have these keys, so to speak, are really all that density. I've never seen stuff move so quick with
Yeah.
zero effort, because their free will has been taken away. It's no longer about their free will and choice when it comes to these parts of the journey, you know? So I just want to make that clear, because there might be some people who are experiencing that. Like, I don't know what's happening,
Mm.
because things are getting ripped away to unveil, these keys, or these aspects that they brought to unlock this new
No, this
world.
you're making great sense, and I'm speaking from experience, not just in what I've gone through, because I usually don't go through it most of the time. Uh, she goes through whatever she goes through, and then I follow behind. Which is probably indicative of the collective energetic dance between the energetic genders. But
Well, you guys
so
have been together. I mean, there's a much higher communion between you two that is beyond anything you could describe. And
yeah.
I mean, you know this, but that's
Yeah.
part of it too, is the agreement between you two to kind of do
Mm.
the cha-cha, and it's one steps up, the other one goes, and then maybe you
Yeah.
step up and that one goes up, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm glad we're past that part where I always had my tail between the legs. you know, or I had my ass handed to me on a platter. Let's put it that way. No, I'm kidding. But no, but you bring up a couple of really good points. Because it took me a while to figure stuff out. Like she would tell me, you know, you have to, you got all these connections up here, but until you embody it, doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, what does that mean? So for about 2 years, I would ask her, what does that mean? Another thing that would happen is I would go to her and say, and she'd work with me or whatever, we do our thing. And I'd go, man, I am confused. She goes, good.
Yeah,
That's where you need to be.
yeah,
I'm like, what does that mean?
exactly.
The other part, too, I think, is something I've watched her do uh, in the last 2 or 3 months and before, but it seems like this is really applicable now. I felt the same way. I've watched other people, and that is, who the hell am I? What's the point of getting on here and doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shows a day? What's the point? And who am I? What does it matter? And that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because to me that's great advice for people, regardless of how long they think they've been awake. If you're not feeling some of that, you probably need to go back to the well. But yeah, that's a really good point. That really is. That shows a lot of humility too, to be coming from somebody like you who's been doing this a long time.
Oh, thanks. I think too, like, um, we all experience that. It doesn't matter. Look, there's no gurus in this shit. Okay,
Mm-mm.
it's just like, if you're on a pedestal, it really hurts when you fall off. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it. This is really about tapping into your own abilities, knowledge, truth, heart, all of that, and letting go of always asking. So many, and I did this for a long time. I'd call on the angelic realms. I'd call on, different angelic beings, and they would show up, until they showed up and went, yeah, no, this is bigger than us. And I'll never forget that. I
Wow.
had Archangel Michael and another being there, and and it was like they were leaning on each other, looking at me, going, yeah, no, this is bigger than us. And I was like, what? WTF? What?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's that push, like, you're getting out of the nest, spread your wings, boom,
Exactly.
you have access to all of this. It's not, it's like the parent child thing. You got to let them go.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. You're just not meant to be hanging on to all that. So it's really stepping in and owning who you are, and really trusting, like, really trusting.
Yeah.
How many times I've shared stuff with clients, and then they're like, yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then, like, 2 weeks later, even one of my besties, she was actually talking about this. And then she goes, Yeah, that's just crazy how people don't know. They just don't pick it up and blah, blah, blah. And then she had that experience because she was talking about it. And it was like a week later, and she's like, oh my gosh, I totally did what I was talking about.
Yeah, I went through that on a couple of occasions, and I was with Morgan, and I would say something, and she goes, "Be careful what you're doing there, because you're creating your own, by judging." And sure enough, I learned quick though. I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. But this is good because you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
You have, you have a vast array of connections. I love the fact that you said the archangels came in and they're like, this is bigger than us, and I love the whole, the metaphor of leaving the nest, because really it is all us, and that's what we're being driven to, by force, by flow, by quarantines, by having a Woodstock gathering, and it's all putting us back into, it's all on you, and
Yeah.
which is another thing I notice about some of the practitioners this year that have come on, that I've known, some I haven't known, and that is like, when you first kind of wake up, everything's external, like the
Yeah.
spirit guides, and for most people, it was for me, and then over time it starts to embody,
Mhm.
and it's like, it's like I lay down now most of the time, and I'll say, well, who am I talking to? Like, how do I connect now that everybody's kind of left the building? And then of course, the minute that you start doing it, you never know, then the building starts filling up with all these other beings or whatever. But
Yeah.
I wonder, is it really just from a higher perspective? And I'm not trying to minimize anything, but because of the fact that the fear holds us back, not just in our typical daily lives, but when it comes to paranormal apparitions, dimensional experiences, visitations, it's the fear we got to get around. And I think, is it it's is it our multi-dimensional aspects coming to us to give us the code to and so on.
No. And yes.
Yeah, well, that's a
We'll say
perfect.
no and yes.
Mhm.
So I would say, a lot of these beings that come, some are soulless, some are souls, some are trapped, some are, doing a vicious circle. Some people are very intuitive and have the ability to connect with those who have crossed over, and they might have a lot showing up, and they're just trying to stick their head in the sand and say, I don't see this, I don't do da, 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 da. But it's really stand in who you are. Is it in the highest for me to connect with all of these beings? Usually it's a no. And then it's a falling away of those other beings, but also, yeah, okay, there's dark, light, purple, green, black, blue. There's all different kinds of beings. And it's about really, those experiences are not to uh, trigger that fear, although maybe that trigger of that fear is what's going to assist you to really spring
Yeah.
off that board and catapult. Many people show up to me and I'm like, whoa, man, you are one advanced being, like, holy cow. And they're just like, oh, little old me. And I'm like, come on, are you kidding me? Like, these are happening because you wouldn't be here doing this if that didn't happen. It's like I had a lot of really crazy experiences when I was quite young, and but those experiences are also what assisted me to remember who I am, what I do, and I have access to those portals and pathways to assist those to move on. But some have souls, some are soulless. There's been a lot of interference and that's all up to go. And so, yeah, some people are feeling that, but it it has power when it feels the fear,
Mm-hmm.
and and
Just like,
I've
yeah.
and I've learned that. I mean, yeah, there's been occasions where I've been fear, and then is stepping into that pashant.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the first time I saw my pashant aspect. It came to me. This is so funny. I was doing a retreat with a bunch of people in a really beautiful Stargate, lots of stuff going on. And my little ego was having a meltdown. So I had a moment to myself, and this aspect showed up. I knew, excuse me, I knew there was something there, and I was kind of looking with soft eyes because, if you look right at it, gone. So I just carried on looking with soft eyes, and I saw the bottom of a t-shirt, and I saw this fluff coming out from the bottom of the t-shirt. And then I kind of looked up and I saw the arms, and I saw this big puff of fur coming out of these arms, and then I saw the neck hole, and I was like, what is going? And then I look, and it's this beautiful lion being that's absolutely busting out of this ridiculously too small t-shirt and a baseball cap. And I start laughing. And I'm like, seriously, that's how it had to come to me in order for me to just relax,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So you might get some of these things, and it's just figuring out, well, what are these signs and symbols for myself? Start writing stuff down. What does that mean to me? And follow that, and remember who you are. We are amazing beings of light.
That's a great example too. I mean, because I mean, if ultimately everything is energy, we're seeing energy in many forms as we're, traversing this realm. But like for instance, what you just said, and I don't know if everybody caught that, but I think it's important. So you had this being come in. This being was presented in a certain way, and then you made the comment, maybe in regard to that experience or just in general, how you start to look at the different the symbolics of whatever you're observing, be it a triangle pulsating at you, or a too small shirt or a petite shirt on an extra large lion, or whatever it is. But I mean, is that something that works for you? Is that something you recommend to people, to look at things less in terms of, say, the physical, but what is it trying to tell you in that universal language that doesn't have words? But I mean, is that something that you utilize to work with the symbols and the things that are presented to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on what level I'm. Sometimes I see the dots and I don't know what the hell they mean. I just trust this is where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
And I might make a note and be like, I don't know what that is, but it'll come or it won't come. It doesn't matter. It's tapping into the energy of it and feeling that. But what you can do, if you are opening up to new energies, and maybe this is something new to you, and you're maybe experiencing some fear, you can actually say, like, I used to see the insides of people, and it actually grossed me out. And I said, hey, can we maybe like bring this to me in illustration or something? Because like I was getting nauseous, or it wasn't my thing. Now it doesn't matter, but you go through different points in your journey where some things are just a little, um, I don't know, shocking.
Yeah.
So you can just ask, you can make those statements, and things will start showing up in those ways. I mean, okay, I don't know why they're showing me this, but I'm going to share this with you because they're showing me this. It's like I was meeting a friend of mine for coffee, and it was one of those days where it was really bright out, but there was no blue sky. One of those days, but it seems to be white forever. And eagles are a big thing for me. Like that's one of my big confirmations, and they'll come, and everywhere I go, there's eagles. And I was getting out of my Jeep, and I look up, and I'm looking like way up, and I'm like, holy cow. And I said to her, look at those eagles. Oh my gosh, there's so many of them. And she's looking, she can't see. So I take off my sunglasses and I go, put these on, you'll see them. So she puts them on and she's looking, and I can still see them. And then she takes them off and hands the glasses back, and she goes, yeah, no, that's all you. I, you know. And then it wasn't until a little while later that I realized those weren't eagles. Those were actually white dragons, and they were really high up. And there's no way that I would have been able to, you know what I mean? They're so
Yeah.
huge, but it was just a circling. And then it was shortly after that aspect, so like you'll get shown things to kind of ease you into whatever it is you're ready for.
Oh, that's powerful. So,
Yeah.
and you mentioned the white dragons earlier, and I know Morgan and I have talked about our dragon experiences. The white dragon, white silvery dragon. It came into us, and I don't know if it's the same energy, but I'm going to go somewhere with the question, and was presented to us as like the 13th dragon, like the master dragon or something like that. But when you said this is the dragon energy that births planets, that really hit home because it's very different than the other ones that I've experienced or that we've experienced.
Yeah,
Um, what's your take on what do you know about this white dragon frequency and why is it here? Has it been here before? Is it a good sign for us? I mean, is it something we're embodying? What do you know about it?
it's all good. All of it's good. Look at there's, like any type of being or race or whatever it is, there's many different levels of consciousness. And as some of those who even hold like draconian energy, some of those, that energy is going crystalline, it's going to a much
Mhm.
higher frequency. It's the same with anything else. The white dragons are of the highest frequency of that. And there's a lot that I don't understand. And it's like I say, I see the dots. I don't necessarily connect all of them. Um, and I work closely with, a community of people that, I have a friend who's very galactic, and I mean, she she rocks my world. And sometimes I gather keys and I don't know what they're for, but I know I'm gathering them. And I'm really guided to say, here's some keys I collected for you. And they're universal. And so she works kind of the galactic aspect, and I'm more of the in between here and there, and a little bit more there too. But it's just going with what's presenting and what's flowing, and just knowing that, there is no good, there is no bad.
Yeah,
And as long as you're, you know, releasing or taking that deep dive within yourself, there are aspects of you that are going to go crystalline. And there's also aspects of you that are going to get totally pulled away and torn off and bye-bye, you know, until they can be lit up again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you think? You know, what do you think this year is going to look like? I don't think anyone could even really accurately say. I mean, I'm not trying to like um, devalue the question or answer, but like, God, things have moved so fast. You've got a pretty vast, level of experience. Physical and not. And I think you've got a pretty good eye on what's happening. Where do you see us going? Potential wise this year, or could some major transformational energies actually take root and manifest? I mean, what do you think? Where do you think we're
It's
at?
already happening. I
Yeah.
mean, it is happening. Look at this stuff. Yeah, you can jump into all the egoic reasons why everything is happening the way it's happening right now, but really it's just a big reset for the entire planet. I
Mm,
mean, it has nothing to do with all the bullshit politics and whatever. Look, there's no conspiracy, there's no this, there's no that. Dive deep into yourself. You're given this opportunity right now. This is about a releasing of the density that has kept us stuck for so long. There is a complete new universe being birthed right now.
yeah.
It's happening. The time, I have no idea, because there's no time.
True.
And it just doesn't even exist. That's all the ego. And yeah, I get you need to have time. Like I had to get here at a certain time today, and I kind of laughed at myself earlier because I was like, gee, what time is it?
Yeah.
Because I'm like going all over the place. And so yeah, it's, we're all really, all of us right now are really being guided to be in this moment. you know we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know. And you know what, here's the thing, we never know. We think we know.
Yeah.
We think we got it figured out. We think we know what's going to happen. We think that's the problem.
Maybe the whole right. Exactly.
So it's like
Exactly.
it's like
So,
really everyone's being given this beautiful, amazing opportunity to get more familiar with not knowing.
yeah.
Because
It,
when you can really jump into the not knowing and trust in that, and trust that, you know, look, it's really, there's some people who are dancing in the thickness of 3D, and then there's others who are playing with 4D, and then there's some that are in 5D that are just manifesting things like
yeah.
right now. And so, can you imagine if you went from 3 to 5? You'd just be like a shit show. You'd manifest all kinds of crap. And so there's a bit of a dance going on right now for a lot. And it's like, just really getting used to trusting.
Yeah.
You're all okay. Look at if the news freaks you out, stop watching the freaking news.
It's like the whole illusion of a comfort zone's disappearing. There is no comfort zone. It's
There
all
isn't.
a comfort
It,
zone. Yeah.
exactly. It's all a big fuzzy warm blanket on a cold day. I mean, it's just I have people who will say to me, "Can you just be human for a minute? Like this is what's going on." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm human most of the time." And I'll say, well, like I cut to the chase because it's going back to the story,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hey, there's a lot more people growing vegetables right now.
Hmm.
There's, a lot more people being really grateful for, you know, small things.
Yeah.
And that gratitude bell has been being rung for a long time now. And this is
Yeah.
like, bam, here you go. Are you grateful for the breath that you're taking?
Mm.
You know, there's some dear ones that are going to step out due to this virus. You know, they didn't sign up for this part of the journey,
Yeah.
or they came here to assist in opening some people's hearts so wide open that they couldn't close again, and then
Mm.
they left. And that, but they're not gone. They're just they've left their vehicle. And I get it. It's yeah, it can be really tough to get out of those emotions and those fear-based waiting stations, but it's really, this is the time to step out of those emotions and to step out of those fear-based waiting stations and really expand and open up into who you really are. And when that heart energy comes through, wow, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing.
True.
It's amazing.
True. And maybe that's what's happening. You know, maybe we all, well, if letting go of the story for all of us was as difficult as it was, you know, why would, as within without, why would it be any different for us collectively? So whether we like it or not, whether we wanted to be right or not, I guess we're going to have to let go of the narratives, have to let go of the histories revealed and that weren't revealed, and the conspiracies and this and the whatever.
All those beautiful, convenient
Yeah.
distractions
Yeah.
that keep you from really looking at what does that really bring up for me? What's the trigger in that?
Yeah. Yeah. Because how many people can really look at, let's say, any, comprehensive, uh, you know, uh, explained narrative and not go into some level of judgment about something or someone, I mean, so like we're going to have to get to a point where collectively there's no charge. This was just our story. In order for us to do that, we're going to have to be at a level where many people, are, for instance, that come on the show of their true nature, their true essence, and honoring that and leading with that. The other thing I look at too, and what you're saying, I saw a post today or a headline. I don't know. It's all just a, but and it was talking about, um, I believe it was talking about beef and chicken,
Mm.
um, and maybe fish. I don't remember, but it said that because of the situation, that the what was once a big surplus is now depleting rapidly. And I thought, well, that's a novel kind of thing. I mean, what happens if it all goes away? And that's taken off the plate, and so it's funny how the universe works. Corona, crown, um,
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's, there's yeah, again, it's the way it's gone for us individually. Why would it be any different collectively? To include reading, I said this on the last show, but I got to say it again because it's funny, because with the whole toilet paper run, Morgan
God.
Morgan was, we first happened, she was like, we can't, let's not talk about this. I said, I agree. Let's not talk about it. Let's not give it any energy. And of course, all those toilet paper memes were coming out. She's like, well, maybe we should do a meme where, God sent us all to go buy some toilet paper so we would take a look at our shit once and for all,
Oh, I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
it was funny. But yeah, but still, even though it's funny, there's some truth to that,
Oh,
and that,
yeah.
and now with the mask, like, like, shut up, shut the f up, And
Yeah.
well, if you're not talking, what are you doing?
You
You
know,
know, yeah,
I think too with the mask and the gloves and all that too, I think everyone is also being guided to be in compassion for those who are in some of those fear-based waiting stations, and honoring them and where they're at in their journey, not carrying them, but giving them that space to drop into that heart center and feel comfortable. So if someone's asking you to wear a mask or wear gloves, then let go of that need to be right, that you're
yeah,
okay. You are okay whether you have the mask on or the gloves on or not, so just be okay with it, and honor where they're at on their journey. And and that'll come back, and people will honor you as well.
right
And
on.
I have to share with you about the toilet paper because you brought that up. Do we have time? I don't know if we
Yeah,
can.
yeah. We're at it's funny because we're at 1 hour. I usually go an hour, but when it's flowing, I go further. It's 1 hour when you ask me, 11 minutes, 11 seconds.
Of course it is.
So
Right.
yeah, go ahead. The
We're
floor
busy
is yours.
opening up some new portals and pathways here, Mr. Pashant. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and so it was so funny because when all this stuff, like, I watch the news, I don't watch the news, I don't really care. I mean, I find the news entertaining because, really their job is to find something to get you really excited about. So they'll get excited about just about anything and make it into something. So I'm not really big on the news. I don't read the newspapers. I figure if it's important enough, somebody will tell me. And so anyhow, I had sent my husband a message and I said, hey, I got to go to Costco and pick up my contact lenses. Do you need anything? He says, yeah, get some toilet paper. I said, okay. Anything else? He says, no, just toilet paper. I said, okay. Now he's a contractor. He's out in the world. He's he sends me off. I go looking and I'm standing in Costco, and I actually wrote a blog about this, and you can read it if you want. It's on my website. And it was entitled, Where's the Ass Wipe? I couldn't believe I'm standing in Costco and I'm thinking, well, maybe they moved it. And this guy comes walking by, and he's a worker, he's got his little vest on and stuff. And I looked at him, I said, where's the toilet paper? And he goes, are you kidding me? I said, no, where's the toilet paper? He says, lady, we sold out of that toilet paper before 1 o'clock. And I said, oh, okay. And I'm still like, oh my gosh, not getting what's going on here. I had no idea. And this customer comes walking by, and he's talking away, and I said, I just can't believe Costco sold out of toilet paper. And he goes, it's the Corona. And I looked at him and I said, I thought that was a lung thing, not an ass thing. And he looks at me and he just starts laughing. This other guy starts laughing, and I'm like,
Oh,
I don't know what's happening here. Anyways, that was me being like, but
that was good. That was a
but I was
good
very
one.
gullible, and I was actually saying, like, I thought this was a lung thing, not an ass thing. Why are people buying all the toilets? Like, this was at the very beginning of all that, I guess. I don't really
Mm,
know, but
yeah.
anyways,
Well, there's a lot of wisdom in the humor, no doubt,
I guess.
no doubt.
What's with
I,
the ass wipe? Yeah.
well, I really enjoyed talking to you. I look forward to co-creating and collaborating with you in the future.
Yeah, I would love it.
And thank you for coming in and honoring us with your presence.
Thank you
Yeah.
for having me. Oh my gosh, so honored to be on this journey with
Mm.
you and all of you. It's awesome, and it really truly is an honor. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And all blessings to you and your husband and all that make up your inner circle there. And
Thank you. You as
until the
well.
next time.
Big
Okay.
love to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so